Okay. Hi, and a very warm welcome from my side. My name is Itta Francesca. I am the head of Sofar Sounds Vienna, and we are here today to talk about the important issue of the lack of women in the music industry, especially in live music production, because there is still a social and cultural bias that women do not belong in specific fields like technology or in leadership positions. But we have here three women who prove the opposite. Exactly, and I would like to introduce you to the panelists. We have Peggy Szkudlarek, who is an agent and project manager at DIFproductions. We have Conny Ettinger, who is a sound engineer at venues in Vienna, like, for example, the Konzerthaus and the Poggi and Bess. And we have Monika Matiaszewska, who is a booker of Pohoda Festival, Slovakia's largest music festival. And I would like to just dive right in and ask Peggy my first question. You are more than just an agent, you're also an artistic director of small festivals, as you told me. Could you tell us a bit about your work and why and how you push women?
Yes, hello. So I'm Peggy, based in Paris with DIFproduction. I'm currently an agent, producer. This is the meaning of the real name of producer. I invest in music live for the concert. So I'm a producer of the artists who are in our roster. First, I was the curator of different festivals and venues in Paris, like La Machine du Moulin Rouge or Glazart. And why I'm now pushing women, especially in my roster, to be presented in a festival and other venue, it's, I think, because I was curator and I thought that women were not well represented. First in the roster, it was a lack of curiosity from the artistic director, who were men for priorities, and it's the first thing we need to talk about. If there is less women than men in the music industry, it's because there is more men inside the big position to decide who will play, who will produce, who will release a new album, and why we invest in women instead of men in business. Voilà.
Mm-hmm. Monika, you work at Pohoda Festival. How many women are there in your team, and what about women artists at the festival?
Yes, I was doing a bit of survey, preparing for this panel, and I checked, our core team, the main people who work, we are 50-50. Okay. So it's really nice. We are well represented. The female are well represented, and it seems like it was always the case in our company. Our head is a man, Michal Kaszczak, but he always tries to get also female element into the core team, because I think it makes the dynamics of the team a bit different. And he also knows that maybe we as a female are more, more on the point, how to say it, that we are more interested into details. Like, we are into details. Like, we know how to work with Excel sheets. We know how to keep everything in order. Whereas men are more like they have these ideas and they are in the clouds sometimes. That's how we work in our team. And but I also checked our lineup. Our lineups. I did this 2 years ago, and I did it also for this year. And it seems that the women representations on our stages, we had 143 bands playing, and from these roughly 30% of the acts were female-like or female-ish, I would say, because the band was having a female element in them, or there was a singer, or it's hard to assess this, but I would say that if there is a female in the band, it was accounted as a point, So there are roughly 30%, but from the two main stages, the percentage went up. So if you say like the big acts that played and are able to play the big stages, there were two acts that there were two main stages like that, and from that, 40% of the acts were with the female element. So I would say that in this sense, our festival is really like female-oriented even, because if I see the rosters of other festivals, the female representation is much lower. But I need to say that we don't do this intentionally. We don't do this like, okay, let's book 40% of acts because we want to have female on the festival. It's happening somehow naturally, and maybe it's because we are trying to be eclectic in the lineup, but also in who is playing, who is on the stage, and there is a bit of different vibe on the stage when there is a female, and there is a different vibe on the stage when there is a man playing a guitar. So I think we try to be to have this equally, to have like nice vibe, but also strong vibe. But there are many female artists that are also that strong vibe. So that is also important to say. And from this year, I need to tell this because we had one exceptional band playing, and that was Afghan Women Orchestra. And that was something really special that needs to be said. Like we are talking here that women are unrepresented in our festivals in the Europe and so on. But we had this Afghan Women Orchestra, so women from Afghanistan, from the society where when you play a violin as a female, it's something that can get you killed. It's still like that, unfortunately, but they managed to build a school of music in Afghanistan, and this female woman orchestra was able to come to Europe and perform, and they even had a few more acts in Slovakia. We organized a little bit of tour for them in Slovakia, so they played, I think, 4 or 5 shows. And it was really strong for me to see, like, we always think of us as unrepresented and weak and so on, but for them it was even much harder to do this, and it was big inspiration. Like, don't talk about the female aspect anymore, because if you see that these girls are fighting to even play the instruments, I think their lives are something that needs to be spoken about. And the story was really strong, and also for them to play in Europe was perfect example for their home societies, because it was on the Instagram everywhere in Afghanistan. They told us, we are big story in Afghanistan now, because it's something really outstanding. So that's what I wanted to say, because it was Michal who made them to come. And as a man, he thought that this is a really good example of female fighting for equality. And he, as a man, made the decision, okay, let's do it. We will pay for the flights. We will do it. We will organize it. We will find money for that. And we made it happen. So that's the kind of story from this year. But I also then checked like who is working for us, like from the team, not only for the core team, but also for everyone that we have, from volunteers, bars, somebody who's working at the parking spots and so on. And it seems that there are more female in these positions. In the end, it came out like 56% of female working for the whole festival. So for me, it was like, okay, so it seems like we are doing quite well in this field. So I'm happy to be here and saying like, okay, there are some places where it works, even if we are not trying to make it work. We are not the people who are like, okay, really have it equal everywhere. No, we are just doing it somehow naturally, and it works for us.
Because you were saying that you're not doing it intentionally, which is pretty amazing, but there are certain things happening. Let's put it like this. For example, the Waves Festival in 2016 only had an all-female tech crew, and they did that very much intentionally, and I think it's a very interesting thing. What do you think about this, for example?
If it worked, well, okay, why not? For me, it's like perfect. If a female can do the position, let's make the female do the position. But if there is a man who is doing it also well, let's just choose from their skills and experiences. And I can see it also when we build a festival. We have these blue Kayam stages, and there are always female working with them, and it's so amazing to see it, because they need to be strong. They need to lift heavy things and so on. And you see their work dynamics. It works also with the female element there, but you won't expect that usually in the builders of the tents, that there will be a female. And I think that there was just a female that approached the company, that they want to work for the company, and they proved that their skill is enough, or maybe good enough, to be part of their team.
Actually, a lot of men say in like tech teams or building teams that it's super cool to have a woman in the team, or at least one woman, preferably more, because it just makes a better group dynamic if there are girls as well. Or on big tours or small tours, everyone says it's cool to have a woman on it.
Yeah. And especially regarding the girl technical crew, especially in electronic music, it's not really like in rock or pop music, but in electronic music, women when they arrive in the venue to play, they used to be alone just. And when they're with the men team, we can't forget that the first question is sometimes, and nowadays I saw that at some festival this summer. I was with an artist, a woman, and I just let her going on stage because I was not a technical manager, project manager. And the technical team, the men, just said, are you alone? Please don't touch. What do you need? Or who is taking care of you? And sometimes in venue, when you have a girl, don't care about the age or anything, but she's with a suitcase with the vinyl inside, and she go in front of the security and say, I need to go to the backstage. No girlfriend admits in the backstage, and
you know how often people said, "There's the merch table to me."
Yes, voilà. And it's always, and of course, men really want to be involved in the development of the image and position of the women. They tried and they succeed, and they really wish to be to think better. It's just to thinking better than before. But sometimes there is an old spirit that, hey, what are you doing? No, don't touch my vinyl, my machine. Say, no, I'm a technical, and it's like that because it's a technology business, the electronic music, so it's not like a guitar, it's ooh la la, a guitar, you can play what you want, but please don't touch to my setup.
Yeah.
But I think it's always about who you meet, and it can be also, I know, there is this prejudice against women not being able to touch the button to start the computer. That's sometimes it's true, but I think it's also because our emancipation, let's say like that, started only a few years ago. If you think of it, like from the, that's my son, by the way. Hungry.
Is he alone?
Yes, now he's with Barbie. I think he will be fine. Hopefully.
Barbie's a woman.
So it's hard to be a woman when you have kids and doing the job, but yeah. I will tell about the story about my son later, maybe. But where I was, yeah, it's important who you meet, and that our emancipation started just a few years ago, I would say. So we are still approached as somebody who is not well educated, not well trained, and I think what we are just missing is just good examples, a few good examples. You know, if there is a world well-known singer, every girl can be a singer. If there is a world-known, or in the country, you know, in your country, somebody really famous for doing sound engineer as a woman, I think then it starts to be in the minds of the people. So we just need a few examples. It's like in Slovakia, we only this year we elected the first female president, and for us it's like, okay, it's perfect that she can be there, because I think it also can show up in other fields, you know, because now we can feel, okay, she could do the president because she is skilled, she can speak, she is like perfect for that position. So maybe if I am good at my things, I can also be the head of anything. And having a few examples can help also the female side and also the men's side. Because the man needs to also see that there are women and female that can do their job. And if they see that, they won't say anymore like, don't touch my buttons, you know, just it will be, okay, you can do it, we do it. I believe in that, because I believe that men are not just evil creatures that are trying to kill the female, you know, that they like us as much as we like them. And we just need to find some common ground when we can talk like, okay, we are also skilled and we can do our job. So.
I think it's this lack of role models basically is a very, very important point, that also in awards ceremonies, I mean, like the Grammys, so few women are nominated, and it's a big issue, because as young women or young girls, if they don't see anyone, a female person who is recognized for their work, they wouldn't aspire to be the same. I think that's a very, very important point. But Connie, you were talking about that so many people tell you, oh, over there's the merch table. I mean, how do you deal with this stereotyping in your work?
Basically, I try to ignore it. I just, you know, when you meet someone, when you come to a venue, you meet the people from the venue, the local crew, and you already see when you greet them if they are open and if they just want to have a good day and work with you and do a good show, or if they are like, you know, judging you by your age, your gender, or whatever. And if I see that someone is being like that, I just try not to interfere with that person too much. Normally there's a bunch of people in the crew, and if someone is not being nice, I just ignore him. There was only one situation where I really have been put down by someone in a venue that much and that often that I had to go complain to the production manager, but normally I just ignore it. And I think the best way to do it is to prove the people wrong by just showing that you're good at your job and that you have good skills, that you're good at what you do. And also, it's important that the people you're traveling with are behind you, because the bands I travel with are like family. When you're touring, it's like a family. And when they say that's our sound engineer and she's good and we like her work, that's the most important thing. The local crew is here to support you, and if they don't treat you right, yeah, ignore them, or if it's too bad, tell someone. but I don't really like to argue with someone about the way they treat me. I think it's no use because you have a couple of hours to set up the show, and yeah, I usually ignore it.
Okay.
It's sad that it still happens.
Definitely.
But when you're in the venue and you have to do a job, I can't start fighting with someone because they're ignorant.
Yeah. I also I forgot to mention we would like to have this a very open discussion. So anytime you have a question, just raise your hand and ask it. Okay. Okay. But contrary to what I said earlier, and contrary to this lack of role models, you became an expert in a technical field, sound engineering. What inspired you to become a sound engineer?
Actually, it was a priest.
Because what else?
Not priest.
A really cool guy. He had a little sound studio, and he always recorded with me. And he was our religion teacher in primary school, and he did choir stuff with us and recorded stuff with us, and then we went to the church and sang to the people, and he did record that as well, and sometimes he even put up a PA and we played as a band, and it was always really cool playing in church. And I always thought it was really cool what was happening around there. I just didn't understand it, and when he saw that I was interested in that field, he just let me try out things, and he just lended me some of his gear and said, yeah, that's a little mixer, try out, plugging in the microphone and talking, and I don't know. He just let me try, and from that moment on, I knew I wanted to work in that field. I didn't know as what I wanted to work, and I made the SA diploma in Vienna, and when I started off, I didn't know that I was going to do live sound. I just wanted to try out everything, but it's the thing that caught me because it's a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of people, and it's just my thing now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to refer to something you said earlier when you said that, like for example at the Emmys or like at the Grammys, that less women are represented there, and I think like I've been doing music for 3 years now, and as a kid I always listened to music, and I feel like there are just a few artists which are represented very well, like Beyonce or artists like that, which are really fighting for women's rights too. But I feel like it's really hard as a little girl to look at the music industry and just see that there are like so many men who are being represented so well, and compared to that, so less women. And then it's really hard to really focus on, okay, I want to do music, but I barely ever see like big artists, big women.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's interesting that you mentioned Beyonce, because all the time I was thinking about Beyonce and how that I saw so many interviews and also so many videos where little girls were talking, and they were always talking about Beyonce and how much she inspired them, and I found it very beautiful, but there could be so much more.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Sorry, did you want to say?
Actually, yeah, because I read a lot of like magazines, sound and recording and stuff like that, and they have the stories about music productions, and very often the artists, especially female artists, are very involved in the whole process, because they make it seem like that's the singer, but she has a producer, and she has a recording engineer, and she has someone who does the mix and someone who masters the thing. But many women are very involved in the whole process, and they don't really get the credit for it, because also in the studios you only see male recording engineers or whatever. And I think we really have to work on that, because nowadays there's so many women who produce their own music, just as men produce their own music, or many girls who just work as producers for others. There are girls who work as producers for male artists. They're just not well known, and there are a lot of them actually.
Of course. Peggy, you said earlier to me that you don't just have women artists in your roster because they are women, but because they produce good music. And I saw an interview with the producer Toki Monster, and she said something like, it's not a verbatim quote, but she said that she'd rather be number 20 on a list of top 20 producers than having somebody call her their favorite female producer. What do you think about this?
It's a larger question because we need to first ask if the quota are a good idea or a bad idea. 10 years ago I was against quota, the female, men, and we try to separate and say, hi, she's the number one of the female, but she's 100 of the male world production. And I was really against quota because I was involved in music and if the women are good, they will be invited to play, everybody will think of her for the production, for the concert, festival. And it was just a dream because it was not the case. And while I was thinking that, I spoke with LGBTQ artistic director from party, and girls always told me, we need quota, Peggy, we need quota. I said, no, why? We can't. If it's good music, you need to have choice between good and not a woman and male. And now, 10 years after, I'm sure they were right, really. And these women who organize many LGBTQ parties with 7 or 10 live acts in the same parties with women who never came play in France or never play in a good party. And 10 years after, their parties are really more well-known than other events in Paris, because now everybody knows that it's a good way to represent women live in electronic or rock music or electropop music, and they really help all over France, not only in Paris but Lyon. They developed their parties. They were like a huge family, a collective, and they work in local, with local LGBTQ collective in each cities. And now it's just normal to have LGBTQ parties in every underground, really good venue. And in festival, now they are curating festival. They are invited to curate festival, and it's just amazing regarding the situation 10 years or 5 years ago. And that's why now I think it's a good way to represent women, that's to impose quota. And after it's like cigarettes or don't smoke, or you need to have to impose rules. And especially in France, but not only, Room for Resistance in Germany or Disco Woman in USA, they are the same team and they are doing the same job, and they are fighting for the women's and LGBTQ rights, not only women as women, female. And without them, I think we could be able to speak about technical girl in festival, in the crew, but not on the stage for big festival or electronic music. Really, it's more the case in live electronic music than rock, as I said before. But it was an important job, and it was really hard for her to be just now represented, invited to speak about their music or to be in a roster. LGBTQ artists in my roster, but it's not because they are LGBTQ, just because they are doing good music and they are involved in the female production, and only for that. And I'm not the only one person now in the roster of many agents now, and worldwide agents. It's now women are on the first line, on second line, and not only one woman. I have one woman in my roster. If you need a girl, you have a slot for a girl. Yes, I have. So it's positive. It's the problem is not. It's still here, but it's not the same than 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Yeah, the problem, the issue of the quota is always. Oh yes, sorry. The issue of the quota is always present, I think, because, like I said, with the Waves Festival, who in 2016 had the all-female tech crew, I spoke to Susie yesterday, the head of production of Waves, and she did a survey in 2016 and she did 10 interviews with the from this tech crew, and overall the women said that if they have the choice, they would prefer working in a male and female, like a balanced team, than just an all-female crew. But they felt that it was easier to communicate, for example, and certain things were just easier, and they just were done. And whereas their past experience were more in other crews, it was more difficult. And I would like to know how you experienced this, Connie, as a sound engineer.
I'm a fan of just mixed groups. It's not important whether you're boy, girl, or someone else. I think it's important that you like each other, that you all know what you're doing, that you're doing a good job. That's the most important thing. I did tour with all male crews and also crews with more females in it, and it was always good. It really doesn't matter if everyone is open-minded. It's perfectly to work with anyone.
I think what is bad, or what is happening sometimes, and we can see it on the festival, is that when a female is in that kind of position, that is look up, like, okay, what is she doing there? Then she is pushed to act more like a man. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe Maya do. That sometimes the female, or we, are trying to be somebody that we are not, just to prove ourselves that we are doing it correctly, and then it ends up like being mean to everybody. That we have so many experiences with the female being really mean as tour managers, but also we have many men that are mean. They are being mean.
They are building because they're so.
But this is something that I think nobody needs to do. And then you hear from the tour managers that, you need to be mean just to get the work done, and afterwards you can be nice. But you can hear it also for female and from a man. So it's not the thing, but if it's a female, for me, it's like, okay, why are you acting like this? You don't need to. You don't need to.
Things changing. It depends on the maturity of the whole market. I mean, I just work using a very male-based work environment as well. And it depends, like, you can see, like, progressing in countries. I mean, there's no such surprise that the more as you go, the worse it gets for female equality. And I can see it's like now I work in Germany. I can see I feel more empowered to just be girl.
That's
like,
so
to be
true.
Female, and then no one cares because I can do my job, and everyone knows. So I can be as girly as I want, and nobody just attacks me for it. I don't face any repercussions.
I paint my nails, and it's good. I like it. I can do it.
So maybe after the market in music is more mature, we will be having, the sweetest female tour managers, having, no issues, because she knows that she will be respected without having to yell at the crew, like at the same moment when she pulls out of eyeliner.
But I think it's happening already. Or I can say that each year we have less and less yelling female or men, doesn't matter, as a tour managers. And I think it's starting to be more friendly. Maybe we are just booking, you know, the bands that are nice or have nice managers, because the band can be still nice and having a shit manager. But yeah, I agree that it's about this, like getting to that point that we are respected, female are respected and are treated as equals. But for that we need to prove ourselves, that's first thing, but also we need the cooperation with men. I think it's not just the fight of the female to, you know, if we just fight, it will be fight in the end. It will be just fight. We need to cooperate, and that's something that we need to track the men, say like let's do it together, and that's why I'm against of quota, for example, because for me it's something like, okay, you are a female, you get this job because, you know, there is a quota. I would feel really bad being chosen to any position just because there is quota and I am a female. You know, it's for me it's something like I want to prove my skills first. So maybe in 10 years I would say that I am for quota, but now I'm like strictly against it.
I totally agree the fact that we need to fight with the male, because a few years ago women, if you want to speak with the male in the music industry, but as a really hard, strong feminist, they just won't hear you because you will be crazy and hysterical and blah blah blah. When you are just a woman and not feminist, strong feminism, they are up to find solution with you. And the first time I was used to to listen panel in Paris, for example, with only women, and the audience was only with women. And each time I said, we spoke about women, but without men. How can we drive them? Think about another way, by another way, if they are not listening to me, them. And the first time on the radio, there were a panel, and they invited the big artistic director of Concrete, just mega hype of Paris for electronic music, and he's doing the weather in Paris. And it was the first time, it really, his lineup were always with a big name, Marcel Detman, Ben Cluck, Len Faki, Jeff Mills, so the strong men. And one woman in a month played there, and when he discussed with the LGBTQ crew or female artistic director or artist, musician, and just say, okay, that's the way I need to think about music. Yes, that's right. I never search, especially a woman as an artist to play at my party, but I just will try to think different and to search them. And now last year he did a post, we have 80% women in our lineup this year, and that's just a small example, but he just said, okay, please invite us men around the table to think about that and to try to change state of spirit, state of mind, and I think that's the way we can change everything.
You had a question?
Yeah. First, just a little tiny comment on the quotas. I think quotas are necessary nowadays because just to create an opportunity for women, because it doesn't come naturally to everyone to book female acts, and it doesn't mean that you have to book shitty female acts. You still book good bands. But a lot has been spoken about the dynamics between men and women. What about the dynamics between women in the production, in the live production industry? How do you see that relationship? Is there a competition in your opinion, or is it a supportive environment?
Competition, unfortunately, I think.
I can't tell for myself. I don't know. I really don't know.
I meet very few women, so it's hard to tell. But if just a second, if you meet women that have been longer in the business, and that's referring to what you said, if you meet women that have been in the business for a long time, that means they have started out at the time where it was super unusual to be a woman in a life environment and in an engineering job, and they sometimes have a really, bitchy attitude, but I think they just had to do that all their lives because they were attacked. And so if I meet a young girl my age, I connect much easier than to a female engineer that has been around for 20 years.
That's my case, and you're totally right. Definitely she's totally right, and I was 20 years before. When I started to work in music, I was just a communication marketing manager in a venue, and 22 years ago, men told me, told me, you have good taste for a woman. This is the situation, and for the sound engineer, it was just the first woman I knew as a sound engineer was pushed the way to be to seems like a man. Whereas she doesn't want to be like a woman. And she just wanted to be transparent with the men.
Yeah.
And now I'm working with many young girls, really 20, 22, and all in my team I have always I form a booking assistant to become a booker and to become head of booking when I will be away. And they are really, they are better than me at their age because they know more things than I knew because now. We have a formation school for the sound, the cultural mediator, project manager. I had nothing, just a degree in language science, and that's they were not the same formation than now. And I think I pushed them really hard because not because I was attacked before. Probably, yes, a little, but just because I know that they need to be more, they are better than the men at their age, they are more conscientious and they want to be where they are, and they are not lucky to be just a girl in a music business, but as they are really good, I think I am a bit, how to say that, I'm nice, I'm really nice, they call me mommy, that's no problem, but I push them to work more than they need to work, and probably it's not the best way to work with them, but now they are, they have good position in a venue, festival, and I'm really proud of them, just for them, not me.
Maybe it's also just when you meet an older female engineer, maybe they just need a little bit more time to open because they've met so many people and maybe some experiences were not good and they just need more time to open to you, because I have 2 colleagues that I call when I have a problem, that I just text sometimes, how are you doing, how's the tour, and they have been in the business for a long time, but it took me a while to become friends with them. It just takes longer, but it's not like every female engineer you meet is an opponent. It just maybe takes longer with some to be friends with.
And we in Slovakia, we are such a small country, I would say, that everybody knows everybody, so I wouldn't say like female dynamics or male dynamics when it comes to like helping each other. It's like we are trying to help each other in the whole industry. It's always like that. I can see it. Whoever calls Michal for help with any production, he got that. Whoever calls me, it doesn't matter if it's female, male. You know, we are just helping each other because we want the industry to grow. So it's not based on any gender aspect.
But would you say that in Slovakia, for example, women and men have the same opportunity within the music industry?
I would say that I know more female acts from Slovakia than the men. Maybe it's because I'm a female and I prefer that. Maybe I don't know, but I would name more female acts than the male acts. But I don't see that there is less opportunity for female in our country. If it's a good act, then it's in the radios, it's everywhere. And I would say that there are more young female artists now. For me, I see like that. Maya, would you agree? Maya is from Slovakia. She works in Germany and she works for Pohoda as a local guide. That's why I always try to address her.
I
But
think it's like equal. It's just
Yeah.
like so we have like very strong female musician personalities. They're very visible. So, but I think like I didn't count it, so I couldn't tell the percentage. But I don't think it's like an issue for us. I mean, look at Pohoda. The main stage is basically managed by a female.
yeah,
Like
that's true.
she's, you know,
Stage manager.
Stage manager, and she's doing like really big bands, like 40 guys come to her, and she has to direct them. So it's like we do have good role models, which got even better with the president. So yeah. I mean, we are still fighting our fights in representation, and also in other industries, but.
Like Slovakia is not like a dream country. No, in this way we are still unrepresented in every other aspect. But when it comes to music industry, it somehow works.
And it
I don't
also
know.
depends on the music industry, because we are talking about alternative.
Yes, that's
We're
true.
not talking about pop.
But even in pop, we have so many pop singers
We
now.
don't have that many female rappers.
That's true.
Hip hop is a big
And
thing.
electronic music might be an issue as well. I mean,
But there are a few.
Yeah, just a
Yeah.
Slowly but
Few.
steady getting there.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's improving. I think the electronic music has some difficulties worldwide. Not
Yes,
only
yes,
in
yes. But
But
the-
I think, sorry,
really.
I think in Slovakia maybe it's because our industry started to grow only recently.
Mhm.
So it developed also with the developing of having female representation everywhere. So it's kind of natural. If you look at something that was there for many years, such as even politics, you can see there are more males still. And I think it again it needs just more time to get there. So
regarding hip-hop music, I think in France it's now the time to the men for the rap in France. We don't have many women. Now you can see on lineup on festival that not French acts, but Floyo or Catnap, who are really stronger R&B, electronic, UK-based hip-hop music. And in South Africa, there is a new scene with a woman just amazing on stage, and they are well represented now at Sonar Festival, Primavera, and but in France or Germany, there is no. It's not hip-hop in the rap in electronic music with women will explode. I think in 5 years or 6 years, but it's not. It's hard to be the woman on stage and rap for now. I think it's another story.
True. So you had a question?
I don't want to diverse this discussion, so I don't know. I'll try. I really like your panel. I like your experience and opinions. But there is one thing that's bugging me in my head for a while. I like what Monika said, that we should not fight against men, but we should kind of cooperate and communicate. And lately, when I watch their panels about women in music, they're always just women. I haven't seen a single panel with a man on it. And I think that it would have been really awesome, to get men, even those that are really machos, they don't like women, whatever, and men that cooperate, so that we can hear their opinion, how it is, why is it like that, or is it improving, or is it not improving, what we can do, how we can help other guys starting from it, because I think it should be, at least we shouldn't be fighting again, we should try to find the communication, and I think we all do, probably all the people that are here, so.
Well, are there any male people here that would like to comment?
Sometimes when Matthias from Sweden, I'm a booking agent, and sometimes when I applied for like get invited to these kind of things, they always ask, could you be on a panel? And I usually write, I know about booking and gender equality, but I always end up a panel about booking and then never about gender equality. I've been on gender equality panels in Sweden a lot.
Right, definitely.
I mean, sometimes it's about, little things. It's just like, that's why I totally agree. You have to explain.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they just don't notice that they are doing like a perfect panel, Eurosonic. We had like Czechoslovak scene, so we had like an unnamed representation. One Tanya was there, so one booker. And our common friend, a booker from and he was like, he was trying to explain some booker situations. So there was a female booker, male booker, and he was taking the stage all the time, and even with body, with like overshadowing the only female in the panel, literally like blocking her from view. And then I was like, so you know what you did? Like it looked like, and then he was really, really, he was like, oh sorry, I didn't want to mean it. Like, did I do it? So
Definitely.
yeah, I mean, it's like I know you. I know that you don't have any issues with that, but it was just so you took the words, and then even with your body language, you totally overshadow the only female person. Like, and you had the same topic. I mean, you both shared the stage at that point. But he was just like, it didn't come to him until I was like, what did he do?
Yeah, definitely. And regarding Nordic countries, you should be invited, because in the Nordic countries it's not the same state of mind, and I think Oya Festival was one of the first festivals who claimed that there are more than 50% women on the stage 6 years ago. So yes, Nordic countries are really, we need to learn about them with the women industry.
But I think it's also important, I hear you too, like, it's important things to say, because it's about, for me, it isn't about percent, 50-50. It isn't about the fucking numbers, it's about awareness, and this thing you said, how, why is the women talking to women here? It's the wrong thing. It's a big mistake there, don't take it personal, but it's a big mistake, there's a panel just with women. To make a change, we have to be like involved all the time, and men also have to be aware of what are they doing and how do they act, and the structures. It's always about the structures.
I'm sorry, just to, I think we all agree with you, but 1 year ago or 2 years ago, if we invited men, he wouldn't have accepted, because he said, okay, we are here to speak about the real life of the girl in the music business, so they will be angry, and I will be here alone, and we will fight, and he needs to listen after to participate, I think. But you're totally right, of course. But,
We have a comment here?
Did you ever, or anybody of you was afraid to say that you are a feminist?
No.
No. I actually sometimes fight when I had 2-3 beers. I really started. I have a lot of male colleagues, my study colleagues. I often fight when I'm drunk, but normally I just don't do it, because there are some people who want to talk about it and who are willing to talk about it, and there are some people who just block.
And who are willing to listen.
Yeah, and usually I just, on the workplace, I just don't do it, but when there is the time and the will from other people to talk about it, I would totally say I'm feminist.
Like it's totally changing the topic in a way, but a friend of mine wrote a book about serial killers and mass murders, and the thing is, and that's actually about us women, where the problem starts in the relationship with mother. So yeah. So lots of like the way the guys are treating, behaving, of course it's very complex, but I think if we women, like, and if we have kids, I don't, but if we treat our children the way that they respect women and others, then they grow up as the men and would be able to communicate. So it's not only up to men to start up, like they can change, but I think it's also us where we can, I don't know, it's just probably my field. So that's just about the circles.
Same. Yes.
Because I wanted to tell a little story because I started to have a feminist music label and I started with it, and then at some point I was like you, like I don't want to say that I have a feminist music label, so only I have a music label or something like this, and then I started to say that I have the first official sexist music label of the world. And everybody, oh, that's cool. Straight white metal. That is really cool. Yeah, wow, great. And I said, oh my gosh, what is this? And that is why I asked you this question, because I think it should be also a good question if some white straight male was sitting there with you and tell the other guys, oh, I'm a feminist. You know, that's the other way around, and it's completely different than if a girl or a lady.
I never tell that, but I hope people know that I'm feminist because all of my women artists are really involved in the feminism. They are really at the top of the. I'm taking care of Dina Abdelwed. She's a Tunisian DJ, lesbian. It's very hard for her to play. She plays everywhere, but outside Schengen. For example, this morning someone stole her resident permit, so she is blocked in Tunisia, which is not now his country. It's France. I need to cancel every show. So she participates at the Tunisian revolution, and she's one of the head of the Tunisian feminism, Arabian countries feminism. Chloe, AZF, all these women are not just doing music; they are doing feminism in music, and my work show that I hope show that I'm really feminist and help female feminists and try to act like that. And I think be what you are is a way to present the feminism and. But it's hard to say I am feminist because not all people understand exactly what it is. Voilà, there is different meaning for them of feminism. That's the problem.
Yeah. It's a problem of definition, yeah. Unfortunately, we are almost at the end of this discussion. But you had a comment.
Yeah, I wanted to say. I think you said that you studied at the SAE Institute. And I actually started studying music business 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago there. And a colleague from me, a man, was talking with me earlier, and he was saying, yeah, which conference are you attending now? And I said, well, this one. And he said, yeah, I mean, it's not such an important topic. And I was like, dude, like, it's really fucking important. And I really wanted him to come along because I think, like what you said before, she said too, it's really important that women start to talk with men about that, because I feel like women really they know the issue, they know they're not being represented, and I think like even when I'm in a music university and actually the people there are very nice. But even there, like when I mentioned, okay, I'm going to a conference where they're talking about issues that women have in music business, and he was saying like, no, that it's not existing. And I told him,
show me that guy.
After beers.
After beers.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Just one last thing I really want to say is we have to talk about men with men about these issues, definitely, but also what I really like is that there are actually groups of girls who get together. I mean, there's this international group, Sound Girls, and also we have this group, Women in Life Business, here in Vienna, where there are no males in the group, but what we do is we meet and we talk about experiences, job offers. We send each other articles that are cool to read about some other girls that made it, and it's also cool to talk about the topic with just girls, also with men, but I really like these groups, and I'm really active in these groups, and we do like shadowing events and stuff. So if you know any young girls who want to get into sound engineering, tell them there are groups for this, because it's really, I wish I'd had that from the beginning on, because they're really supportive. They're all ages and all kinds of positions in the music business. Actually, Sound Girls just published a book, making a little advertising here. It's called Girls Guide to Doing Sound, and it's just like from scratch. What kind of education do I need? Where do I start? Who do I talk to? What can be issues, and how do I prepare? And that's really cool. And that's, yeah, I think it's cool that these groups exist. And if you know anyone who thinks about, or who is already a sound engineer and maybe likes to talk about sound engineering with other girls, tell them that there are these groups.
I just want to know, I was in Hamburg a couple of years ago, and there was a session, a workshop for producers, and the room was filled with girls. It was just mainly like sound engineers, like women. So I think
it works perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yes, sorry.
Can I just add something with, I had like mostly positive experience like being a girl, because like on the beginning when I started to work for a festival, I was working hard because my colleagues were all males. So then they started to really value that, like, you know, you did this very good, like you're better than this and that person. So it was very good for me. And then, like as we were friends in the beginning, like just like Monika described, that it was always very good, not like overshadowing or overcovering. And if there is somebody who does it, like on the panel we described, is usually the type of a person who is like that and is like that to other males as well, as I experienced.
Not necessarily just women.
Yeah, and sometimes like during the concerts, when it's about to like ask for a favor, or there's like something that we need to like deal with it, like they usually send the person who is like a nice and gentle. So it's not gonna be like a fight between men and men. I had a positive experience.
That's very cool. I would also just say, yes, there are these groups, these initiatives and networks that are there to support women in the industry, like Frauennetzwerk, like Music Women Austria, Female Pressure for electronic musicians. And there's also an initiative that is fairly new that is called Frauendomäne, which will come online on October 8th, which is basically a database where female experts, whatever experts, can register, and it's a database full of women, of female experts, where people who are looking for women to speak on panels, for example, or booking agents or whatever, really, it's not just about music, can find female experts, so that this excuse that I also often heard, there are no female blah 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 DJs, for example, there are no female bookers, there are no female, that this excuse is not valid. And I think it's a very cool thing that I really wanted to present to you. And yes, unfortunately, this is already the very end of the panel. And I would like to thank all of you for taking part in this discussion. It was very interesting. And thanks also to Waves and Mika for the invitation. And I'm sure that we will be outside if you have any questions or would like to come talk to us. Yes, thank you. Thank you.